Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and welcome to day 3 of the 7-day song on Jump Up Drum and Bass collaboration with Noisestorm. Yesterday we created the bass, and today we'll get our hands on the pads to fill out the track. Now there are 2 different pads. One is a kind of dead mousey, almost distorted church organ kind of vibe, and the other higher pitched one feels more synthy and stringy. Appending E to any word makes it an authentic technical term. So let's get started with the first pad. Combinator. Name it. Make a line mixer 6:2. Then make a Thor instance. Right click, create Thor. Initialize it and open it up. I'll add in some notes now so we can hear it build up. Okay, so there's the notes and soloed out. And now we leave the analog oscillator on the default saw wave for a nice harsh beginning to the sound. We're not going to be using this filter, so you can take that off right now, just to get a better idea of what each oscillator is doing. So let's take a listen to it. Okay, a bit thin at the moment, so for oscillator number 2, let's make a multi-osc that's a little less detuned, so it's not quite as messy. And let's run it through and take it down an octave as well. Much thicker. Lastly, we're going to have a wavetable oscillator, just on the default basic analog, taking it up an octave, and moving the position up as well, which is somewhere between a sine wave and a triangle wave, around 35, because the basic analog wavetable kind of morphs between these 4 different waveforms. And that just gives a nice warm overtone to the sound, which is why it ends up more like a clavinet or a church organ, more than an intense, distorted industrial synth. So, if you're into aggressive, regimented German electronica and wandered 3 days into this tutorial by mistake, don't worry about that part. Now would be a good time to bring the sustain to full, so it doesn't lose any volume over time. Okay, so we have our basis for the sound, but it's still lacking. So, we're going to turn on the shaper, down to hard clip. And as you can hear, that just gets a bit more grit in there. But as Stan Lee said, with great grit comes great responsibility. Since we must leave room in our mix for our bass line to sit comfortably, we're going to EQ the pad. Right click, create, M-class equalizer. And we're going to take param 1 all the way down to about 140 Hertz. And all the way down again to about -13. And if we widen it up a bit as well, so without that cut. And with it, just keeps the focus on the higher end, so the bass can take the 4 in those frequencies. Okay, so we have the bottom of the lower pad. It could still do with the top end to balance it out. You know, a yin to the yang, a light to the darkness, a lorry to the fry, that kind of thing. So let's make a new initialized Thor instance. This time with an analog and 2 multi-oscillators. Run them both through. And we're going to take these multi-oscillators up 1 and 2 octaves respectively. Bring up the sustain to full so it doesn't lose any volume over time. And we're going to run these into a state variable high-pass filter, just like that. Take it down to about just over 200 Hertz just to remove those lows. And then we're going to have a low-pass filter in slot 3 at around 5 kHz. Just so it's not too high either. We're going to add a separate higher pad so we have more control over the top end of our frequency spectrum later. So let's take a listen to what we've got. There we go. We've got the top end there and the bottom end there. Just mix them together to taste with this mixer here. I kind of like it as it is, so we'll carry on. Let's chuck right click, create an RV7000 advanced reverb onto the mixer as an auxiliary send. And we're going to dial it in a quarter on each. Just so we have some blending and it feels a little less dry. And now to finish off, let's add a compressor to the whole thing. Right click on the mixer, create M-class compressor. It should automatically connect between the master out and the from devices because we've already added an aux input. Nice and convenient. And then we're going to simply link the sidechain output from the drums into that compressor. So hit tab to look at the back. We've got a spare output here. Let's take it all the way down to our shiny new sidechain in. And then take a listen as we bring the threshold down. If we turn on the kit as well. It's quite nice. Bringing the ratio up to make it even more pronounced. So let's take a listen to it in the mix. Voila, our first pad is complete. However, Fry here is getting kind of lonely without Laurie, so let's go make him in part 2. I love an excuse for an extended metaphor.